Every year, millions of people drive. They drive to work, to school, events, and then they drive home. We are all aware of the risk being taken to be driving in the first place. Moving in a vehicle at intense speeds, not being able to control the drivers around you, people deciding to drive intoxicated and recklessly, not following speed limits, and evidently not being able to control what happens to you, your passengers, and the other drivers on the road. With all these already potential risks for a dangerous situation, the silent killer that goes particularly unmonitored by our own selves is distracted driving. With all the socialness in our daily lives, that is a direct result of our cell phones. We tend to blend driving and the use of those two together. But in order to combat this horrendous behavior and the horrendous outcomes of this behavior, however, we must do all we can to stand against it. Distracted driving is the most dangerous form of irresponsible practices on the road and is progressively getting worse as generations continue to become more reliant on their phones. Today I will share with you the problems with distracted driving, but particularly the problems with using your phone behind the wheel, the causes of these issues, and practical solutions and precautions we can all take to make the road a safer place, not just for ourselves, but for the drivers around us. First and foremost, let's take a deeper look into the problem. Distracted driving has become all too common. And because we use our cell phones so much throughout the day, we think that it is okay to use them behind the wheel. But according to Mutual of Insurance Insurance, 12% of all fatal accidents in 2022 were a direct result of cell phone usage behind the wheel. Not eating and driving and other distractions, or drinking and driving like most of us would assume, but cell phone usage. And that number is just going to continue to grow as the years go by and the generations become more hooked on their phones. According to enddistracteddriving.org, teens with parents who use their phones and drive are 4 times more likely to use their phones while they drive when they are able to drive. You see, this behavior is a ripple effect. If it starts with the parents, it is going to end up with the kids. And if those kids can't stop it themselves, their kids. These numbers are only going to continue to rise if we can't take a stand and control our own will to stop using our phones and stop distracted driving. And according to the Zebra, over half of all drivers text and drive. That is a large amount of people. But 70% of that half think that it is bad to drink and drive. The two are practically interchangeable, however. When you're under the influence, you're not able to fully process and have correct reaction times to objects in front of you or stops being made or different issues that occur on the road. Same thing when you're distracted at driving. Your reaction times are going to be delayed because you're not giving your full attention to the road. Texting and driving is not the only distraction, however. According to National Highway Transportation Administration, eating, talking, stereo usage, navigation usage, all of these things are other forms of distracted driving that we think are just normal habits behind the wheel. But all of these are going to result in heavy consequences, and maybe they're not directly at ourselves, but to the people around us. According to Wallen injury law, 400,000 people were injured in 2018 just directly due to distracted driving. Not only are 400,000 people injured, but 400,000 families, children, parents, teachers, workers, etc. People with lives of their own. These injuries and these issues are going to send a shockwave throughout these families. And it's going to have an effect on their lives as a whole. Now that you see the dangers of distracted driving, let's address the cause. The number one cause of this is that our brains cannot fully multitask. Yes, we think we can multitask, but you can't give 100% of your effort and attention into 2 things at once. especially when it comes to driving. Driving is an activity that takes 100% of your effort, and if you do not put 100% of your effort and attention into it, then you're inevitably going to have inattention blindness. Inattention blindness, according to Enumclaw Insurance, is when you're trying to do two things at once while you're driving, and so your brain cannot fully process what is going on in the road ahead of you. Say if there's a bump in the road or a windy turn or someone makes an emergency stop, your brain might not fully process that. And so maybe you saw it, but you didn't process it. So you won't make those moves and precautions that you would have normally made if you had your attention 100% on the road. According to the Zebra, 40 to 60% of people have used their phones behind the wheel in some way, whether it's an app, texting, navigation, etc. If you are texting, that text is going to be about 5 seconds, according to NSC.com. And if you're driving 55 miles an hour in those 5 seconds, you're going to be traveling about the length of a football field. Now, that is a lot of length to go without seeing where you're going. You're basically going into somewhere blind, and it causes a lot of danger, not only for yourself, but for the drivers around you. And not only to mention that, but it takes your brain about 27 seconds to refocus on that activity after being distracted. So say you just quickly check your phone, maybe 2 to 5 seconds. It's going to take a whole half a minute in order for your brain to refocus your attention fully on driving. And this problem just gets worse for teens, where distracted driving and usage of your phones will go from 2 to 3% for adults times more likely to 6 to 8 times more likely for teens. And now that you know the cause of these situations, we can address the solutions to some of them. A solution that would hopefully be able to be implemented in everyone's phone would be an application where you can monitor your text messages and not have notifications come through, not have buzzing, and inevitably not have the need to check your phone. I get everyone has important situations in their life and emergencies and other things like that, and there would be a way in this application for the person calling you to notify if it is an emergency or not. But it would allow you to have less urge and need to check your phone on the road, and inevitably result in those numbers and those injuries and those fatalities going way down. Obviously, completely eliminating the problem altogether seems like a daunting task, but there are clearly ways to avoid distraction and make us for a safer place for the people in the car and around it. Today, we discussed the dangers in distracted driving, and specifically the undeniable fact that using your phone and driving is the worst form of distraction. Why is it impossible to do both at once? And how can you avoid distracted driving while in the future for the safety of others? That is going to be something that is going to have to be taught in schools and taught to drivers that are new on the road. But distracted driving may seem like a common practice among your family, friends, and loved ones, but it is also an easy way to injure and kill those same people. Distraction behind the wheel can look different for everyone, but it is an undeniable fact that your brain cannot multitask behind the wheel. If you wouldn't drink and drive, don't make the decision to be a distracted driver. They have proven to go hand in hand. Be safe and keep your eyes on the road for the sake of not only yourself, but for everyone in your life that cares about you as well. Thank you very much.